Hey, I'm Lisa and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to talk about how to give up control. Oh, how to give up control. This is a really difficult topic for me. To be honest, when I was brainstorming this video topic, I was like, honestly, I don't know what to say because I don't know how to do it. I find it really, really, really challenging to give up control. So if you know the 4 temperaments, I feel like I talk about it quite a bit on this channel, and I'll put a link below where you can take a test to figure out which of the 4 temperaments you might be. I am a choleric, the red, the red zone, red like anger. This temperament loves control. Like really and truly. I have loved control. Even as a kid, I can remember wanting to control the way people did things at my birthday parties. I can remember controlling like what I wanted to wear. My mom and I would get in super big fights about things like that. Like just my entire life, I have loved control. So I struggle with this quite a bit, but I would like to say, I hope my husband would say that I have also worked really hard at some strategies to overcome, to be a bit more flexible. So I want to share a few thoughts and strategies on how to let go of control a little bit right now. When I was in therapy, my therapist said, would you rather be happy or would you rather be right? Let that sink in. And that really, I really want that sort of expression to be part of this conversation, because at the end of the day, what I have learned is that my ability to relinquish control has been in direct correlation with my ability to be happy. So I think this is an important conversation, and I'm excited to be having it with you. My first tip for giving up control is to recognize that none of us call the shots. Like, no matter how much we want to, no matter how many things that we put into our life, how many, constructs or boundaries that we put in our life, we just don't control everything. Let me give you an example. When I was 23 years old, I got married, and I was a very healthy person. I've actually never shared this story with you before. I was super healthy. I was a competitive cheerleader in university. I was honestly incredibly healthy when we got married. And I remember right before my wedding, I went into the doctor and I just got like a full physical done. And she was like touching my neck, and she was kind of like, there's like something there, but I don't know, I'm not really worried. Go on your honeymoon and then come back. But as soon as you get back, let's do an ultrasound just to make sure that it's nothing. Didn't think anything of it. Got married, went on my honeymoon, came back, did the ultrasound. Yeah, there's like a weird mass there. We should probably have it biopsied. It's probably nothing. It's probably just a cyst. So we have it biopsied. Everybody's like, you're 23 years old. There's nothing wrong with you. Have it biopsied. Turns out it's cancer. I had thyroid cancer at the age of 23. And I just remember it was like rapid fire from feeling like I felt like when we got married, I felt invincible. Like this, I don't know about you. Tell me in the comments below if you can relate or resonate, but I just felt like we could take over the world with like all of our registry gifts and like, in this brand new apartment, and we were both starting our careers. I had just done Marriage Under Construction. Like I was literally launching my television career. I felt invincible. And then bam, literally the whole notion of sickness and in health, those vows that we took were put to the test literally weeks after we had been married. And so I share this story with you. Thanks be to God, everything was fine. So we got married December 2007, and my thyroid was removed completely. It was a complete thyroidectomy, April 2008. So just super quick, like just a couple of months. I had to do some radiation treatment, and basically I'm on a synthetic thyroid medication for the rest of my life that replaces what my thyroid would have been doing if it was there. I share this with you because we don't control anything. I was the type of person who was working out like 4 or 5 times a week when I was cheerleading. I was eating super healthy. We were young. I felt invincible, and I got cancer. And so I think just acknowledging that we really don't call the shots is the first tip in letting go of control. My second tip for letting go of control is to realize you can't see the future. So we can make plans. I think plans are great, but sometimes plans change, or sometimes the plans that we have are not really the best plans for us. And so a practical example in my own life is how many children I have. I will be very honest with you. If you had asked me 11 years ago, yeah, in 11 years, you're going to have 7 children, I would have been like, what? Like, what? That's not even physically possible. I share this with you because I can't imagine my life without all these people. I can't imagine, like, even when I think about the fact that I've launched a book, the fact that I had a minivan meltdown. I'll put some of these videos in the cart. It's a result of having children that I went through the trials that have now gotten me to the place where I could launch a book. I would not have these stories or these experiences if none of these things happened to me. And so it's really challenging because I think, especially when we're young, or at least this is my experience, let me know in the comments if you feel like this was like this for you too. When I was in college, it was almost like impressed upon you that you had to have your entire life figured out. Like, yeah, sure, people said, okay, yeah, you're gonna like change your career a couple times, whatever. But at the same time, there was so much pressure on like doing like a co-op placement, getting actual work experience. There was so much pressure, at least I felt pressure on getting the best job right out of university. Here's a story for you. I was so cocky my last year of school that I snubbed my nose. I turned my nose up to potential job offers and interviews because I was like, oh no, that's so below me. I'm gonna get a job at like one of those fancy like fashion places because I'm so talented. Oh my gosh. And then guess what? All my girlfriends got jobs at these fancy fashion places. And here was Lisa with nothing, not even an interview at any of these fashion places. Like honestly, like, but what's so funny is, again, I studied fashion university, if I didn't share that with you. I wasn't meant to work in fashion. I was meant to go and host this television show. If I had said yes to a fashion job in like a magazine or wherever, like some of my girlfriends did, which was their path, if I had pursued those and just been so like, no, I'm gonna say no to any other opportunity but this one, I wouldn't be where I am today. All this to say, we can't see the future. And so sometimes our plans might not be the best ones for us. And so I think that's really helpful to just sort of think like, okay, perhaps there is another plan for me and I need to go with the flow. And that can be really helpful in letting go of control. My third tip to help you give up a little control is to acknowledge that sometimes when we try to control things, it actually makes not only you, but everybody else in your life miserable. Okay. My husband would say, I have infinite examples here. Thank you, husband. But what I want to share with you is that when I was a younger mom, this is very vulnerable for me to share. Okay. When I was a younger mom, I didn't have as much confidence, and I 100% based my worth on how I was performing as a mom. So what do I mean by that? If my kid teethed earlier than all the other kids at my play groups, I was like, yeah, my kid's the best. If my kid was holding his head up earlier than all the other babies, I was like, yeah, I'm a great mom. And I just have so many examples of that. What is challenging is what happens when all of a sudden your child is not performing, quote unquote, at that same level, because children don't perform at certain levels. Like what happens when all of a sudden, like, oh my gosh, all the other kids in the class are like reading and my kid isn't reading yet. What happens? What I used to do was go berserk and feel like, oh my gosh, my life is over. My child can't read his ABCs and everyone else can. Like, this is not healthy. Like this sort of, first of all, this notion of our children being a reflection of like our self-worth, not healthy. Second of all, we cannot control other people, and the pursuit of controlling them is just gonna make them feel awful, right? I see this sometimes when perhaps a parent might have a passion about, let's just say, a sport, maybe dance, an activity, and they try really hard to get their child to also be as passionate. What happens when that child actually, number one, isn't very good at it, or number two, has no interest? There can be a big clash, right? So this is what I mean. Like, I think that all that's gonna happen when we try to exert a lot of control over others is conflict and stress and a lack of family unity and a lack of peace in the home. And so I think that's motivation in itself to let go of control. And like, think about also too, like a child's self-worth. I believe this so wholeheartedly. So help me. This is another like Lisa Canning soapbox, that a child should feel like they are worthy of love just because they exist, that they do nothing to earn love from their parents. I believe this so much in my heart of hearts. And so I think that we have to be so careful as parents when we are trying to do what we think is best. And of course, there are things that are best for them, and we know that. I'm not saying that we set up our kids for failure, but we also need to be very careful and really conscientious of like, why am I doing this? Why am I putting so much emphasis on, for example, our particular activity, for example, our particular like talent or whatever? Why am I putting so much emphasis? Can I just relent so that people can be happy? I can get a little particular about how crafts are made, but if this is going to impede my relationship with my kids, I gotta stop. If they want to do it one way and me trying to control this activity is making them feel bad and making the activity no fun, I have got to relent. If you're brave, let me know in the comments, what is one area of motherhood where you know you got a little bit too much control and your family and your children would really benefit from you letting go of it. My fourth strategy for helping you to give up control is to choose happiness instead. So I shared with you this quote from my therapist. Do you want to be right or do you want to be happy? I think you can relate this to control. Do you want to control everything or do you want to be happy? Because let's just be honest, like at the end of the day, some of the things, or at least for me, some of the things that I want to control, truly when I think about it, are inconsequential. I used to criticize my husband. God bless my husband for being married to me for so long. Oh my gosh, honestly, God bless. He's going to be a saint because I can be a controlling mama. I used to criticize him when we were dating about the way he would put his napkin on his lap. We got into the biggest fight. I'll never forget it. It was on Spadina Avenue or Road in Toronto at a sushi restaurant when we were like newly married or something like that. And we were eating sushi at like a $5 sushi place. We were nowhere fancy. And I put the paper napkin on my lap because I was, you know, this like civilized woman. He didn't put the paper napkin on his lap, and I let him hear it for like 5 minutes about how our children are always going to know how to use their napkins, blah, 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 blah. And it was a huge fight, and it was completely ruined our entire afternoon. And who cares? Like, it is inconsequential, to be very frank, honestly, that he put his napkin on his lap or not. Honestly, when just really and truly, that is an inconsequential thing and not worth the conflict. And so I think if we can think of like, just literally like in that moment, I wish I could have told myself, Lisa, do you want to have control over everybody or do you want to be happy? Because there are one of two ways that the situation is going to go, and your role in it is going to dictate how the rest of the afternoon will go. Imagine this, we're sitting in this $5 sushi place and we're, you know, having a lovely time. I put my napkin on my lap, he does not, and I just say to myself in my head, oh, he didn't put his napkin on his lap. And then I went back to eating my spicy salmon. That's what I should have done. But it's so hard, and I get it, it's so hard. I think it's human nature. I think it has something to do with the way we were raised. I think it has to do with our priorities, our values. I'm not saying this is not hard. It is hard. But if you can think, do I want to control everything or do I want to be happy? I think that can be a helpful tool. And the fifth way that I think you can give up control is through prayer and reflection. If you've been following me for a while, you know my faith is very important to me. And so to involve God in the conversation of, God, you give me strength. I got this problem. Can you help me figure it out? I think is a really, even just this pose that I just did, this pose of surrender. And if perhaps faith is not a part of your life, I think just this, even again, just this posture of I'm gonna relent and to just very conscientiously slow down our bodies, slow down our mind, do things to be more mindful, like literally just like to just literally physically put ourselves in a moment of how am I acting? How is this impacting everyone? And really like We have to do this all the time. We cannot grow if we don't take a hard look inside. And so whatever that looks like for you, for me, it is like literally being on my knees and throwing my hands up and being like, God, fix this mess. I think it's really important that we take quiet and reflect. If you like this video, I would love for you to give it a big thumbs up and hit the subscribe and hit that bell button and let me know in the comments, is this something you struggle with? Let's struggle with this together. Until next time, cheers to designing your beautiful life.